grab a beer, and pull up a chair. Welcome to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. This week we are actually in the Northwoods. We are joined today by BK.
Hello.
Brian's back. And we actually had a beer tasting over the 4th of July. Before we get into that, I do want to wish everybody a happy belated 4th of July. Hopefully you had time to be with family and friends and drink some good craft beer, have some good memories. I know we did up here. So
we certainly did.
Yeah. Every year we hold 3 beer tasting competitions, and everybody has to bring a beer in. We have 3 categories. The last category is always the wild card, which is typically your big stouts.
The largest, the darkest, and the craziest. Usually,
yes. And the winner of... So we hold these Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, and Labor Day. And whoever won the Memorial Day gets to select the categories, and that was Brian. So what were the categories that you picked?
So because of our categories in Memorial Day, we almost didn't make it through it. I chose to go with a little bit lighter, so we went with a beer with lemon and or lime, anything 7% and under, and then of course the wild card category. And I think we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. We all made it through it without thinking we were going to crawl down the hill back and go to bed early. So interesting beers that got brought up for that. It was not as many doubles as I thought we'd have, for sure, but it was an interesting category.
You know, the thing that surprised me was when you picked lemon or lime as a category. I thought, okay, we're going to have a lot of hard lemonades or shandies. Yep. And we never said anything, but I checked, the day before to make sure. What if somebody brings this? And Brian had said, no, that's technically not a beer; it's a malt beverage. And surprisingly, nobody had brought a shandy or a hard lemonade.
No, it was like I said. We had 2 doubles in that category.
We just had one double. 2 people brought the same
beer, which happened to win that category. Yeah, there was a wide range of good and bad in the lemon or lime.
Yeah, it was. It was something.
Yeah, it was an interesting category.
The thing that's kind of weird, so we have these 3 categories, and for the 4th of July this year, we had 10 people. So whoever's beer finishes in first place in the category gets 10 points, and it goes down to 1 typically. But when we had that tie, or 2 people had the same beer, so then it went, 2 had 10, and we just go down to 2. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, we add up the 3 categories, and whoever has the most points wins. A couple crazy things happened. First, one of the competitors, Andy, he actually won the first 2 categories, and all he had to do was basically finish not last, and he would win, and he finished
dead last.
So that hurt him. I finished dead last in the first category and was second and first in the last 2, so I tied with Andy. But for the first time ever, we had 3 people tie
the first
place with 22 points. And the crazy thing, that's crazy enough. Mm-hmm. But the craziest part to me is you add up all 3 people's, the number of beer tastings they've been to, and it added up to 4. We had 2 first-timers and a second-timer that actually tied for the win. And it was kind of crazy. So today we are actually joined by one of the winners. His name is Wes.
Howdy.
And Wes, this was your first beer tasting.
First beer tasting. I studied the Memorial Day weekend one hard because I wasn't eligible at the time. And then studied and had a pretty good mentor help me pick out beer and give me a little bit of advice. But he didn't make any selections for me. He was like, hey.
I did drive him to the liquor store, but
yes,
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
So what we're going to do today, it's going to be kind of similar to when Jim and I did the recap of the Between the Bluffs, but we're going to talk about the categories. Some of the beers that we thought were good or were surprised by, or maybe wasn't as good as what we were figuring.
Or disgusted by.
And we are also going to be, since there's 3 categories, we're going to be tasting 3 beers and kind of giving you our thoughts on those as well. And this week we're doing 3 different beers from Finnegans.
Finnegans Brewing, it's downtown Minneapolis. From where I work, I longingly stare out the window at their brewery. Finnegans has been around for a long time and used to share space with Badger State Brewing. And they've got a new brew room and a new tap room that they feature other Minneapolis brewers in. I've yet to be in there. It's been open for several years and then COVID and haven't been in there. But they do kind of a lot of things. They do a lot of things in in Minneapolis as far as for food shelves and all that. We'll talk a little about that in a little bit. But I found a 12-pack of 4 different beers. They had their Amber Ale, which is the one they had, and then 3 that I'd never heard of. So we're going to try those.
Yeah, we've had the Amber before, and it's a good beer.
It is a really good beer.
So I'm really excited to see how these 3 compare to that. You know, if it's anything similar, we should be in for a pretty good treat. So the first category today, we'll discuss. We'll just go right down the line like we did. So the lemon or lime.
Lime.
So how did you come up with that as a category?
Well, you know, when we did our Between the Bluffs, there was I was really impressed with a lime lager, and I forget what brewer it was that had it there. It was kind of salty. It had just a little hint of lime or key lime in it. I thought it was really good. And then we also had, if I remember right, there was a red ale that had lemon peel in it, and it just added a little kick to it. So I thought, you know, most of them that have lemon or lime are lighter in the alcohol, maybe a little bit hoppy, something we haven't tried. So I just went that route.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, I was intrigued by it. I thought, boy, we're going to have not many beers, different beers in this category, because I figured everybody's going to bring a lot of the same. But we just had the one duplicate where 2 people brought it, and it just happened to win the class.
And that was Pyre's, right?
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
Yep. Let's see if I can.
You got the picture, but I think it was Pyre's.
Green Squeeze, lemon lime blonde ale,
and it was pretty good. I was impressed by that. I thought, of course, when Wes brought it home, I thought, oh boy, that's going to be really just citrusy, but it was a good blonde ale to start with. You know, didn't taste just like fruit. It had a good ale taste to it. Was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah, that one surprised. Another one that honestly surprised me was the Left Hand Brewing Key Lime Pie Nitro. It was on Nitro.
Is that second place?
That was the second place. Yes, that finished second.
I like that one more than the one I brought.
Yeah,
I did.
I mean, just the smoothness from the Nitro. I thought it had really good key lime flavor myself.
That was the one I had at the top here. It says Nitro Key Lime, Nitro with citrus. I've never had any beer that had Nitro and a citrus. I've had one Nitro IPA or something. I remember you and I had one, but it was terrible. But I thought with citrus, it was interesting.
I had Left Hand had a 12-pack, I believe, where they had 4 different Nitro beers, and they had one that was like a pink flamingo thing, and it was some kind of a fruity one. That one wasn't very good. This one, I was impressed. Another one that kind of surprised me a little bit, and it was gluten-free, is that is like a margarita beer.
It's an Imperial Margarita style ale.
Yeah, and it was by Lakefront, and that one surprised me. I mean, it definitely had that little bit of a salt
and lots of tequila flavor.
And it was really good. I was impressed.
For everybody out there, I questioned whether it was actually beer because it's gluten free, and that just doesn't seem right. And then the last one I have on here, there was one of the lagers was absolutely terrible. I think maybe it was the last one. No, that was sea salt lime.
The sea salt lime lager from Castle Danger
was awful, absolutely terrible.
Well, apparently it was 3 cans better than mine.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Mine, I brought a sour that had key lime and vanilla.
That was not very good.
Well, I think I got robbed on that.
You might have had an old can or something.
I don't know. I'm sure I got robbed. The sad part is I had brought another beer with, and it was a lemon meringue sour.
That one was pretty good.
And I thought, these guys aren't going to like that. So I put one in that had vanilla to hopefully tone it down a little bit. And we tried it after everything was done, and it was way better than
what I put in. And I brought the Founders Goss ale with lime, and I gave them away, and everybody, do you have any more of that? No. Shoot, I should have had that one.
Yeah. So Wes, what did you think? I mean, was there any other ones in that category that you really?
In that category, I'm more of a fruity drinker, so none of these disgusted me until you got to this one or this one. What's the worst one? Yeah. I like fruit, so this was a pretty fun category for me. It's a good dip my toes into.
And the only one that was kind of out of sorts that was completely different was the Firestone one that I brought, right?
Right.
And
and that was Gold Rider.
It was Gold Rider, and there was a lot going on in it. Higher alcohol, I think it was up to 11%. I wish I'd had a whole bottle of it to really explore it and have it besides just the taster glass, but I think it surprised too many people that where it was weird compared to the rest of them, and it didn't take too well. It did all right, but it wasn't the greatest.
And that's what kind of surprised me a little bit is a lot of times the guys that normally come to our tastings, they like higher alcohol typically. And that one, they just didn't think it worked or something.
It was an interesting beer. Again, I'm going to have to go buy it again to have one myself. Because it was a dark, almost an amber ale. And I believe it was in cognac barrels. That's the first cognac barrel beer I think I've ever had. Very interesting. But again, I think everybody was at that point had loved the first couple of the nitro and the others, and that was too much.
Yeah.
At once.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the rest of them were all pretty low alcohol.
It might have been an interesting wild card. It's possible.
It could have been. I think it might have fared better in that class. But here again, who knows? Because we've had other times where that would have hands down won
absolutely
this class. So
absolutely.
So yeah, kind of crazy. So after round one, we had Wes and
Andy tied.
Andy,
Yep.
Was it Andy? Did Andy bring that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was
So they were tied for first. So in between rounds, we always have a break. We always bring up snacks,
or
dips,
hors d'oeuvres,
oysters, smoked oysters, sardines, stuff like that,
canned sardines,
and other things just to cleanse your palate. So we took a break, and I was licking my wounds.
Yeah, you were.
Finishing last hurts, especially when it's at your own place. You think you'd get some kind of pity vote, but no, not these
so
guys.
much.
They're pretty rough on you. So all right, well, I got thirsty talking.
I was going to say we've been talking about beer.
So we are going to try this first beer from Finnegans, and it is Mischievous Pixie Pale Ale. And on the can it says "Drink like you care." Classic throwback pale ale. And now Finnegan on the back says Finnegans House. The house social good, about $2 million in community impact and counting. Like you had said, Brian, that they really do
a lot for the community. One of the cool things they do, and feel free to go check it out on their website, is they do a reverse food truck. So you can hire them, or they just show up in places, large gatherings. And if you bring food, fresh food or canned food, to that truck, they'll give you a free sample of beer or whatever, and they take that truck and then drive to the food shelves and do it. And it's kind of a neat deal. And I guess I was reading the other day on the website, it's actually caught on. And so now they've got reverse food trucks in San Francisco, and they've got them in San Diego and Denver. And
Finnegans does?
I don't know if it's Finnegans or I think it just caught on.
Okay.
But it's kind of a neat idea. So yeah, I'm excited. Finnegans has always just had the amber ale, and then usually they have, is it the Dead Poet? At Finnegans, they've always had a stout.
Yes.
And you get the amber, and then you have the stout, and that's it. So these are new. I've never seen these before, and I thought, well, why not? If it's anything like their amber, which I absolutely love. And a pale ale, I like pale ales. IPAs get a little hoppy for me. I don't mind them some. At 45 IBUs, is that what I saw on there? So it shouldn't be too hoppy.
And 5.8%.
5.8. So I'm excited to try this one. I do like a pale ale.
What do you think, Wes?
What? So I don't know what IBUs are.
IBUs is the short for International Bitterness Unit.
Mm-hmm.
So the higher the number, the more hoppy, the stronger the flavor is going to be.
So what is like the average IPA hoppiness on IBU?
On an IPA, well, it all depends. There's not really a standard.
This one.
Take
the Bud Light of IPAs, and what's its IBU?
It's probably going to be. It's probably about 45. Yeah. My opinion, this is going to be a pretty easy drinking, not overpowering. Is what I would guess. Mm-hmm. So all right, well, let's see what it is.
Pale ale, so I don't expect it to be that colorful at all. Actually, it's darker than I thought it would be. Kind of a golden.
It has a citrus smell.
That's your IPA hops.
That's your hops. That they give you your floral notes, your grapefruits, your stuff like that.
Almost always grapefruit.
Yeah, smells good.
Well, that's not bad at all.
That would be. You could drink that on a boat.
That's
like I said, it's the hops. You can tell they're there, but they're not like some of them are so hoppy that it makes your tongue dry. It feels like you got to scratch your tongue. This is not anything like that. This is pretty good.
This is good. This is probably one of the better hoppier beers I've had. It's not like super like sour or whatever.
I don't think they tried to get fancy. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
They went with I said it's more of a golden than that I thought that it was going to be, which I think probably gives it a little more flavor. But that's a good beer. There's no question. That's a good beer.
Yep. I was going to say I'm impressed. Because you never know. Sometimes some of the breweries they have kind of a certain kind of beer that they'd make really well. Mm-hmm. And their amber is really good. That stout is really good. And there's been other ones that they venture off into some of these other categories, and they don't do it very well. But this is good. I'm impressed.
Yeah, there's nothing. I am impressed with this. Again, it was a little hoppier than I thought it might be, but it's not. Again, I don't think they tried to kill it. They just left it at a pale ale. It's not. They didn't add any extra citra. There's no extra. Oh, this is, and it actually for 5.8, it doesn't taste 5.8 like it's.
Like I said, it does have a little bit of that bitter, little bit of a bite at the end, but it's overall. I mean,
But it goes away. It doesn't
lets
hang.
you know the hops are there.
Yep.
A lot of those, you're 5 minutes later, and it's like now I have to go eat something.
Yes.
Or drink some water because it hangs on so long. But.
Yep, exactly. And like I said, this is not that. I mean, this you could buy if they have it on tap. I'd buy a pint of this all day long. And like I said, if it's cold, you go out on the boat fishing or whatever. This would be a good one.
You could drink it on a lawnmower. That's what I.
Yes,
the lawnmower beer.
Yes. Yeah.
And a 5.8, it's a little high for.
We got a big lawn. It's all good.
Yeah,
It's not.
No, 5.8's not bad. I mean, your normal beers are 5, 4.8 to 5. So I do think it's actually more alcohol than their amber ale.
I think so.
Amber,
Isn't that
amber's like 4.8?
I was going to say, I was thinking like 4.8 or something like that. It could be. We'd have to check it out. But this is good. I mean, so Wes, we'll start with you on this one. I mean, what are your thoughts? What would you score it like a normal, out of 5?
Yeah. So I'm not a hop person, so it's not my kind of drink. So I would go somewhere 2.4, 2.5, but that's a pretty high ranking for me for a hop beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
To your point, like I wouldn't, if somebody had one and offered it to me, or if I saw it in the cooler on a hot day, I think I would grab one, as opposed to just going for the Miller Lite or the, just to drink a regular beer. A little something different. I'd probably I'd go a 3 on this, 3.2, right in that range. It's not over the top. It's nice and smooth. It doesn't hang around too long. No, it's a good beer.
I agree. I personally, I'd give it a 3. I think it's definitely better than average. My opinion. Like I said, you could drink it on a hot day, well, any day. I mean, honestly, you're not going to be overpowered by the hops. The 5.8 is not. It's a little higher if you're not used to drinking a lot of craft beers or anything like that. But it doesn't taste like that. I think they did a good job. I mean, I give it a 3.
I think and again, for the people that drink IPAs and drink the pale ales and the IPA and the double IPAs or whatever, there's enough hop there that they're going to still enjoy it, right? Moose, who you had on recently, he would probably really like this one.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly. And like you said, it's that's a good way to describe it, Brian. I think there's enough hop, you can taste it, but you're not going to be scared away.
I like this better. So occasionally we'll have a Saga, which is a little hoppier than I like from Summit, or you'll do an all-day IPA from Founders. This is in that same category, but maybe a little less hops. I would choose this before either of those.
I was going to say that all-day IPA is a stronger hop flavor, but so is a Saga.
But they don't hang around as bad as some of them. But this one, again, like I said, it's darker. I thought it's lager color basically, which surprised me a little bit.
All right, well that was a good first beer. So now we're going to jump into our second category that we had for the beer tasting, and that was 7% ABV or less. Now, for everybody out there, the Memorial Day tasting was anything but 7% or less.
Yep.
We had the categories were maple. So it had to have maple as an ingredient. We had barrel aged in anything but bourbon barrels. So it could be rum barrel, tequila barrel, cognac barrel, anything.
Maple syrup barrel was one of them.
It had to be something other than bourbon barrel, and then wild card. And I'm pretty sure there was 8 people at that tasting, and I think of the 24 beers that we had that day, I think 21 of them at least were over 10%.
100% they were.
Yes. And it was funny because one of the competitors, it was his first time, was that one. And I go, so you survived your first beer tasting? And he said, this really wasn't a beer tasting. It was more like a beer gauntlet. And I barely survived, he said.
It was a rough one.
It was rough. So Brian decided to go with 7% or less. Again, thinking these two categories are going to
help us.
A number of our tasters were a little under the weather. I shouldn't say under the weather, but they weren't going to be.
They went to bed early.
There you go. They weren't staying up long for Memorial Day.
It was a tough one.
Yeah. So this one, 7% or less, and this one we didn't have any duplicates at all. There's 10 different beers, and the one that actually won was by Venn Brewing, VENN, and it was a Choco Nut Peanut Butter Cup Stout. Second, and that was Andy.
It was Andy.
Yep.
Andy brought that. Yes, Andy and you had tied the first category. Yep. Andy won the second category.
Andy won this. I got like 6th or 7th on this one.
I brought a Firestone Mocha Dolce Nitro Stout that finished second. Then we had Puff Tart XL.
I have that marked down.
That one was Adam brought that.
Adam brought that one.
Then we had their pistachio cream, which kind of surprised me that somebody brought that one, because I thought...
Well, we've had it a bunch.
But it just seemed... It was like, wow, I'm kind of surprised somebody brought it. Then we had a Goose Island... what was a buttercup
peanut butter
cup one, which was good, but it
not that it was. I was mine. I was really disappointed. It was Goose Island, and they make some fantastic beer.
I was gonna say Goose Island has the of course Bourbon County, which is one of those beers that's kind of sets the standard for
high-end staple.
Yeah. And this one, it was good, but it
lacked everything. It needed more of everything: more peanut butter, more stout, more everything.
Yeah, it wasn't a good representation of Goose Island.
Nope.
Then we had Uda Pills,
which was just okay.
It was okay. Then we had a Rusket Dark.
That was bad.
By Oliphant. Then there was an AleSmith beer, and I apologize. I can't see that. It's
a 429.
Oh, that was
429.
Yep. That one was a Castle Danger, and it was that
really
a cranberry one or something?
No. It was a really hoppy, like pale ale that the hops.
The AleSmith was.
Yours was.
We had Agave Sun, which was a blue agave beer. That was second to last, and then we had the Honey Raspberry by Castle Danger that finished last, and that one was definitely
bad,
kind of bad. Yeah. So, Brian, I mean, what do you? Did you have some notes on?
Yeah. So the first thing I had was that Puff Tart, and I remember when they were pouring it, the gals were like, "Oh my god, what is this?" It came out in chunks.
It looked like a puree.
It absolutely looked like a strawberry daiquiri.
Yeah.
I was not looking forward to getting handed my glass, but it was surprisingly good. It wasn't as tart and it wasn't as sour as I thought it was going to be. As far as I'm concerned, it was just like having a strawberry daiquiri. It was actually pretty decent. And then the choco nut was really smooth, almost like it should have been a nitro beer. But there was no coconut really.
No.
And I expected it to be some sort of peanut butter beer too, but it wasn't. Those are really good. And then there was one other that we swore there were herbs in it, and I don't remember which one that was off the top of my head. It was one of the ones towards the end. I think it was the Rusket one.
I think it could have been the Rusket.
And it almost like rosemary or something. There was something funky with that one.
Yeah.
Because I have in my NERPs, it has herbs and beer ? Like, why would you do that? But I know that Adam, who was here, had a couple others that did have rosemary or oregano or stuff in it. Kind of an odd scenario. But yeah, the Puff Tart surprised me. The Choco Nut, the first one, was really smooth. Two of them that I would try the Puff Tart before again. Yep. The Dolce one, I have one of those in the fridge at home. I've had a couple of those before. They're pretty good beer.
I do remember a number of people when we had the Choco, the first one, that one, but the Venn Brewing one, that everybody thought it was on nitro. Just how smooth it was, but it wasn't. So that shocked me. Honestly, in this class, the other one that shocked me, and not for a good thing, was the Goose Island.
And that was mine, and I was really excited about that one. In fact, I've got some more.
Yeah, I was. Maybe we'll have to try it again.
Maybe
to try it. But it, like I said, the bar. Now, I was figuring it was going to be closer to Bourbon County than some of their other ones, but it really wasn't.
No.
And that's kind of was a bummer to me.
It was disappointing. It really was, and I have that a bad showing for Goose Island because I really expected more from that beer. Yeah. Kind of like when we talked about on one of the other episodes I was on with you, where we had the Dragon's. Yeah,
Dragon's Milk.
The Dragon's Milk, the golden.
Barrel aged golden ale.
That lived up to the reputation, right? And then we had the Founders one. It was like, Founders has some fantastic beers, and then there's this, right?
Yeah,
a little less than. So yeah, the Goose Island was not a good one. We'll have to try it again.
We'll try it again, but like I said, I think the name, and now, folks. But one thing we should tell you is when we are doing the tasting, when the beer that you're actually tasting, we don't know what beer it is. The can or bottle is covered up, so we don't know until after we rate it and put it in the lineup what it is. So you can't go into it with preconceived notions. What I was going to say was, you had this in your head, but we didn't know it was Goose Island until the reveal. And that's when it really shocked me, though, because I thought there is no way I'd have thought that was a Goose Island. I didn't know they made a peanut butter.
I didn't either.
But
I thought I had a great find.
Yes, you were like, nailed it.
And it turned out not so much.
Money.
Wes, what are your thoughts
so,
on
This one and the wild card were kind of underwhelming. Like the top three were like really good, the bottom three were not so good, and then the middle was just like you could switch around locations of them, and I wouldn't care on that scale. Yeah, it was the I was also surprised by the look of that one pour or whatever, but I'm new guy, so I'm like, oh, this must happen a while. But then everyone around me is all like, oh, god damn it. Yeah.
It shouldn't look like that. Beer should not look that way.
But I didn't hate it.
No, it wasn't bad.
No,
It was fruity. I like fruit, as I've said. But yeah, it was
as pink as that county fair one that I brought up.
For sure.
It was way thicker.
That was the thing that on some of those it is interesting when they get into the purees and stuff, and some of it pours like a puree.
That one was puree.
And it was like, wow.
It'd be like really good if it was like a alcoholic popsicle.
Well, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
I think you could have stood a stick up in it. It wouldn't
probably. You probably could have. I mean, it was, like I said, it surprised me because I thought fruit beer is not going to do well in a category where it's not fruit beer.
Right.
But it finished, was it third?
Yeah, it was third.
Yeah. And like I said, I was kind of surprised because some of the guys in our group are not big fruit beer
Nobody
fans.
Was really offended. Well, maybe one or two people.
Not like I expected.
No, I was surprised.
So, in that category, first place went to Andy.
Yep.
So, again, Andy is...
At 20 points.
At 20 out of 20. He's walking around...
It's his game to lose.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying he was confident, but it was like he was sitting good, and
he had plenty. He was ready to win. He was ready to have the trophy.
And like we said, he just had to do anything but finish in last
or next to last.
And he pretty much had it. We will get into that later. No. Let's go into another Finnegan beer here. Now, we should have read the back of this before. This one
is it small print?
No. This one is
I read
Clover Honey Ale, and it says lemon and biscuit notes. We should have did this with the lemon or lime.
Oh, yeah, we probably should have.
Balanced by sweet local clover honey, 60 IBUs. So it's a little higher. So it could be a little bit hoppier than the last one, and then 6% ABV.
Yeah.
So let's.
60, I wonder if it gets this. You would think that the honey will tone some of that down if it's at IBU, but. And
then does this other one have? Okay, so I wonder if because it says on here it has Bone Lake Meadows Apiary.
So Bone Lake is in Wisconsin.
So I don't know if
there's lots of Bone Lakes.
Unless that might be where they got the honey from.
Probably got the honey from them.
And it sounds like some people are still doing fireworks. All right, well, let's give this one a whirl. Any guesses on the color?
I would say lighter than the last one, but I was wrong. Yeah, a little bit lighter. This will be interesting because a lot of honey beers, I love meads, but when you get into like some of your honey... It's overpowering.
Sometimes it gives it a really weird finish to it, but I'm hoping that this is not that.
It smells really good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good.
I could drink that.
I could drink a lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't know where the IBUs are at.
That is weird because, it's 60 IBUs, and I don't taste any. It doesn't have a hot bite.
There's a little bit at the beginning, but it's not.
Then it goes away.
And maybe that's the honey. And I get just a hint of lemon at the end, but nothing. Not lemon, but a lemon note.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
Boy, they're 2 for 2.
Yeah,
I don't get that. For instance, like Honey Weiss. I just don't care for the flavor.
That's almost fake honey. You know what I mean? It's just like there's maple syrup and then there's Mrs. Butterworth.
Yeah, because there's some that that's what I always, there was Lexington Brewing, and they do a lot of barrel age stuff. And they had one where it was, a barrel-aged honey beer or something. I can't remember the name of it.
Like you and I had that together.
Yeah, and it wasn't... That one, too, had a really weird flavor to it. But this one is like a really crisp, very refreshing...
This is a really good... This is a good ale. And it's an ale. It's not a lager. It's not a pilsner. It's smooth like an ale is. And
I don't get the like I said, 60 IBUs. I would never have guessed that. No, 6, maybe.
I was going to say 20 or less, but...
I'd say 15.
Yeah,
that's... That other one was, 45?
The other one was 45. And that one you could taste, but all I can guess is the honey probably knocks down some of that
question.
flavor.
What does it mean when it says biscuit notes?
Like a bready
bread?
Yeah.
Like biscuits and gravy, not like...
Technically, if you're in Ireland, a biscuit's a cookie.
Yeah.
Right.
That was my question, because
it could be, I guess. It is Irish.
Bread.
Biscuits.
most of the time it's more of like you get almost like a bread flavor, and a lot that'll come
pastry
from some of the malts and things like that. So I don't, like you said, Brian, it could be a cookie. Who knows? With being from,
well, I'd buy a whole 12-pack of this.
oh yeah,
100%.
yeah, this is good.
Really smooth. I would say the honey probably is what smooths it out, but it doesn't coat your tongue. It doesn't, like the end, your aftertaste afterwards, you don't feel like you got to rub it off the roof of your mouth. Or that is really good.
That is good. I mean, and ice, imagine ice cold. That would really be.
Well, I brought an extra one.
We'll try it. We'll try it later. Yeah, I think it's very good.
I'm gonna have to pick up another 12-pack. We'll see how the third one goes. But because there's 3 of each, so there's 3 of the Clover, 3 of the Mischievous, 3 of the Amber, and then the one we're gonna have next. But yeah, no, that is really.
So, Brian, why don't you start us off on this one? And
this is at least a 3.5 for me. Again, I think it even when it gets a little warmer, it's not bad. It doesn't, because some of them are just once it warms up, you can't do these ales or the pale ales. There's no IBUs in it. It's smooth. This is a really good beer. Well done again, where they didn't try to overdo anything. Yeah, I go 3.5, even 3.75 as far as for a honey ale. This is really smooth.
Yeah, I'd agree with. I think for a honey beer, this is really good. I am impressed. I was going to go like a 3.4, 3.5, just because. It's I don't have anything really bad to say about it. Honestly, I mean the flavor was good. I think the honey probably is what knocks down the IBUs, and you can drink it, man. I think they did a good job.
That's an all day one. You don't have to just have one and then go to something else. You can just continue on with those.
It's 6% again, so it's a little bit higher than the first one.
Doesn't taste it.
No. Not at all.
Some of those farmhouse ales and the regular ales, you get to 5%. You're like, ooh, that's kind of strong.
And it's kind of interesting because like some of the farmhouse ales definitely have like a Belgian flavor profile to them. And I'm not saying that that's what this one. Oh, there's some more in there. Hey, jackpot!
Ooh, holding out on me.
Holding out on you, man. I'm sorry about that. There's a little bit left in it. Did you want some more? As I was going to say, this is not classified as a farmhouse ale.
No, just ale.
But like my point with the farmhouse ale is they do have a stronger flavor, and this one is not. And again, like I said, it's just an ale. But I'd drink that. I could drink that all day. And the 6%, eventually it might start to get to you, but it's really good.
Well, after you've had 6, then you've had 7.
There you go. Exactly.
No, that's a good beer. But well done, Finnegans, on 2 of them for sure.
Sure.
Really good beers. Now I'm really going to stare out the window at work and think about going over
daydream about.
I was just going to say my lunch is going to be a little long today, but
Ryan, are you okay? No, I'm okay.
Like the Garfield cats in the backs, windows of cars.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to our wild card. And
I had 3.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, did Wes give us a score?
No.
So you went, okay.
3.1. It's not nearly as hoppy as the other one, and then it's just general. It just tastes better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
No, I thought they did well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, 100%.
So, all right, so that brings us to our third category, which is wild card. It's always wild card, and typically in the wild card category, you see a lot of high alcohol, big beers. The thing that surprised me this year was we had a lot more variety, and it could be we had more new people,
right?
Especially when it's your first time, you don't really know what typically the other guys are about, so to speak. And some of them surprised me. Again, we had no duplicates going into this, so we had 10 beers, and we'll go last to first. So Andy brought, I can't remember, something in Legends.
Super.
That was the brewery, and it was a stout. I'm going to have to try and see if I can find it because I can't read it on the picture that I took. But it was really.
You had them written down somewhere.
Oh yes, yeah. That
should be in the scorecard.
Yeah. I'll figure that out. But it was really hoppy, if I remember right.
It was terrible hoppy.
And it was like, it was kind of rough. And going into it again, Andy was 2 for 2. He was sitting with 20 points and ended up with 21. So that hurt. Then we had Stone. Was it Stone? Was it Delicious? I can't.
Green can IPA.
Green can, yes. And that one is another pretty strong IPA, if I remember right. That's
the worst thing I
I'm pretty sure Kirk brought that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we had Cultivating. I should have had my book. I apologize, guys. But we had another one, and this was from Ursa Minor Brewing. So that was 10th, 9th, 8th. 7th place was Breckenridge Vanilla Porter.
Yep.
Then we had Hubbard's Cave, which surprises me because we've had a number of their beers. This was a double chocolate brownie. And with theirs, I was expecting, once we saw what it was, it surprised me because the other beers of theirs we've had have been really good.
That was my entire story, was Goose Island and Hubbard's Cave just totally crapped out on me.
So you brought that one?
I brought that one as well, and I don't know if it was an old one. I'd never seen the double brownie. We've had the German chocolate cake, and we've had a bunch of those.
We had
Banana Foster's.
Bananas Foster. We had there was a French toast one.
Toast one was good.
So we've had a number of theirs, and with them, they're one of those breweries, and I don't know if they've got to have other lines, so to speak,
right.
Like that, because all the ones we've had though have been really a higher alcohol, a stout, and I'm sure they have other varieties and such too, but they do that really well. But this one, it just kind of
it didn't. Again, it was lackluster on everything. It was high alcohol, but it was lackluster on all the taste.
Then another one that surprised me that somebody put in was Boddington's.
That I had my notes right here say Boddington's 4th. Really? So I think there were a couple of them or several of them that were offensive, and Boddington's just got forgot about. It's right there in the middle, and
Boddington's finished in 5th.
But
yeah, it kind of surprised me because I was like, really? You know? Because again, I like Boddington's, but I don't think I'd ever put it in, especially the wild card.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
So then we had in 4th place, we had Ooey Gooey Peanut Butter and Jelly Sour.
That was not bad.
Adam brought that. And again, I give him credit, his first tasting, and he went out on a limb on some of these. I mean, he was more fruit type things, and they finished better than I thought they would.
Yeah. Wasn't that one like one that I poured like the strawberry one?
It was a chunky one.
Yeah.
It was another one.
Dark purple, almost Vikings purple.
Yes. Then in 3rd place, we had Untitled Arts, Vanilla, Hazelnut, Coconut, Imperial Stout.
If I remember right, we didn't get any of the coconut. It was mostly the hazelnut. And with them too, Untitled Arts, a lot of their stuff is that higher alcohol, but they remind me of like Avery where they oversweeten it at times. Yeah. But it was good. That was a good beer.
Very, very strong hazelnut flavor, if I remember right. And like I said, the coconut is one of those ingredients that you got to be real careful with because it either gets lost or it's way overpowering. That's all you can taste. So that one, I think it kind of got lost a little bit. And then in 2nd place, we had Ale Smith Speedway Stout. And that
salted caramel
brownie edition.
That was Wes.
Yep, I did.
All right. And then in 1st place was Central Waters Phantasmo.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, a chocolate stout. I brought it. I had never had it because the main reason I wanted to try it is it had ancho and then another variety of peppers.
Chili
in it.
Cinnamon. Yep.
Now, the one thing, and I've got another bottle at home we'll have to try because I really didn't get a lot of pepper.
No, and I don't know if it was too cold or...
Well, I'm wondering, at first I was thinking it might have been too warm because we didn't put ice on it.
Yeah.
Trying to warm it up, but I just didn't get... And really, if I remember right, there really wasn't much heat at all. You know what I mean?
No.
Because the way they build it to be was it was kind of an homage to their Space Ghost, which has ghost peppers in it. But that beer, when I had Space Ghost, you knew there was peppers in it. You know, it had a little bit of heat, not over the top terrible, but it was a little bit. But this one, it just...
I don't remember there being any peppers in it.
No, and like I said, that was the one part that...
It's possible that our taste buds were poisoned by the Boddington.
It could be. It could be. You never know. I can't remember which order that it went, but it was. It ended up first. That's the one I had brought. But again, I was a little disappointed. I thought there was going to be more pepper heat. But it was good.
We've had some really good ones lately with peppers in them.
Yes.
That sure.
That mole. Ladonna, yes.
That Emulata.
That was amazing.
I have another one of those at home. I'd never seen a 4-pack of them. They're always singles at that one liquor store. But I guess we have to check their tasting room out at some point. I guess they have really good food too. So.
Yeah, we'll have to do that sometime. So yeah, I guess Brian, did you have thoughts on some of these?
The Speedway Stout, Wes and I shop together, and he had it in his hand, and I had seen it before that, and I was disgusted that I didn't grab it before he did, because it sounded really good. I love salted caramel. Obviously, the Boddingtons, surprised me. The peanut butter sour, peanut butter and jelly, again, really surprised me. I didn't think, as soon as I saw it, I went, oh, this is not going to be good. But it wasn't bad. I mean, I'm not going to run out and buy 15 of them, different ones to try, but it really wasn't too bad. And it was kind of a polarizing category again. The bottom 3 or 4 were just not good beers, right? The middles were, whatever. And then again, tops were really good. So almost every category was polarized that way, where there was a definite bottom 3 or 4 and a definite top 2, and more so than any other tasting that I can remember.
Wes, that was what you had said about the last category. That was spot on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was, you're right. I mean, we had 3 really good ones, 3 bad ones, and the rest, you could have shuffled them.
Yeah,
any which way for the score. You
would try them, and you would still not know what you were trying.
Yep. What did you think on the wild card? Being your first,
my tasting. First one, I was going in thinking wild card's a dark beer all day, every day. Everything is going to be dark, and everything is going to be strong. But then, as Dad said, either because the categories and people were thinking about less percentages, or it's a bunch of new guys, it was a whole lot of like everything. I went in for my mission was to find something over 10% and bring it to the wild card. So that's why I grabbed that Speedway.
And by the way, if anybody wants to try that beer, it is a really good beer. The salted caramel was really good.
Because we've had the regular Speedway Stout before a number of times.
100 times, yeah.
I have 2 or 3 more sitting at home.
Like I said, my biggest takeaways from this year's wild card were just the variety. There was way more variety.
And I think that was new blood, right? And hopefully we continue to go down that road, because it makes people try other stuff.
Yep. That's a very good point, Brian, because at times, I know for a number of years we've probably been in a rut a little bit where it's got to be a high octane barrel aged beer to do well. And really this year you proved it didn't have to. I mean, now the top 3 were barrel aged dark beers,
but they were really good.
But they were good, yeah. And like you said, the ooey gooey one again, like you said, when it comes out that thick and you're thinking, oh boy, and to have it finish where it did, it was a surprise. And again, I don't remember who brought the Boddingtons, but I give them credit.
Max,
because that was honestly took some guts, because Boddingtons, I like Boddingtons, but it's not a real strong flavor. It's very
just okay.
It's a nitro.
It's on nitro. It's
a cream ale.
Got the widget in it, so that's cool. But yeah, it was. I was surprised by that. Was there any of them that were a disappointment? The
Hubbard's Cave.
The Hubbard's Cave.
Right with my other Goose Island. Both of them were horribly disappointing.
It was a disappointment just because, and again, we didn't know until the reveal what it was. But when you saw what it was like, oh man, we've had several of their beers and they've all been really good. And this one, hopefully it was just a bad can. Yeah. And that happens.
Well, I have one more. We'll have to try it again and see. That was the only beer that I've seen in a long time that came in a 2-pack instead of a 4-pack.
Some of their stuff does do that. They come in 2-pack.
Which is kind of nice, because if you're not a commitment of 3 beers you're going to dump out or have to give away. But and just so the audience knows, my general rule for any of these tastings is I bring stuff I've never had. I don't try it ahead of time. I don't try 3 or 4 of them and bring the best one, just based on ingredients and the brewer and whatever else, and something I think I would like to try. I never pre-have my beers, I guess, or never pre-taste them. So to me, I had a Goose Island under 7%. That's got to be a decent beer. And then I get a Hubbard's Cave, which just sounded delicious. And both of them were a disappointment. Now, they weren't terrible, right? But again, it was one of those expectations where the bar has been set pretty high for most of the beers we've had from them. And that's where I was really disappointed. And for anybody thinking about how we do this, when you don't know what it is coming out and going into a glass, you kind of try and figure out which one's yours ahead of time. Think, oh, is this one mine? Honestly, the peanut butter one, I couldn't tell. Right. And this one, I couldn't tell. Like double chocolate fudge brownie, I was expecting a gooey, chocolatey flavor with, high alcohol, and there's just not there. So
yeah, and like I said, the canner bottle is covered, but actually, my wife and Brian's wife, they are our bartenders, and they actually fill our taster glasses behind the bar here. We can't even see it until and then they just start handing. Here's your glass. We have glasses with our names on them and such, and then here you go. So that's the first time we see it's in your glass. So you don't. Later on in the tasting, you can start to go, okay, well, my beer hasn't been picked yet. So but you're right. There's been times where, because the first year we did that this way was 2015.
Yeah.
And I used to bring beers that I'd try them first.
Mm-hmm.
And now probably the last 5 years or better, I do the same thing that you do.
I never do.
Sounds interesting. You go with it. It either bucks you off or you're the champion, you know. Well, just so people know, Brian, I think you've won it 7 times.
7 times, I think.
I think I've won it 6. So typically, if you were going to put your money on who's going to win,
it's usually
us or you and I or the field. It's usually you or I. But
I followed the same advice of not tasting because my dad brought me beer shop, and I hear you used to, but don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it makes you get out of your comfort zone, right?
And it also, then when you taste it, you don't know either.
Right.
Because, like you said, with that Goose Island, I would have thought it was going to be way good.
Yeah.
And then when you taste it, because it didn't really have a whole lot of peanut butter flavor even, you know, and it was just like, So, folks, going into this, like I said, again, Andy was sitting there perched for his 3rd victory.
Yeah.
And he ended up tied for second with me.
For second.
Like I said, Wes, Max, and Adam. Honestly, Adam, I give him credit. He had some guts because the beers he brought he likes fruitier type beers. He went with it, and he ended up tied for first.
And I think he knows that brewery pretty well and people that work there.
I think so.
But he always has got a little bit different stuff with him when he's bringing beers over. And
so it'll be interesting to see for Labor Day now to see what he brings. And because we have other guys that are pretty loyal to certain breweries, and typically it doesn't do well.
No. Well, and unfortunately, some people don't have the selections that others do, right? Kirk, who lives in Duluth, Minnesota, he says, well, we just don't have the selection. And I'm like, really? Duluth is there's a lot of breweries there.
You've got a lot of breweries, and I'm sure there's liquor stores.
There's got to be liquor stores there. Now, you know, I'm spoiled in the cities, or near the cities, that I can go to Total Wine & More, that's Tin Liquors, where I brought how many of them the last couple podcasts we did. I've got several liquor stores right downtown where I can, from lunch break, run over and grab a couple and go back. And so I am spoiled that way, but it's not hard. You just have to look. But it's
and I'm fortunate where I live too that, you know, now we've got the beer shop in there and they have a lot of craft beers. They switch them out a lot. So I mean, I have a lot better selection now than I did previously. You know, just a matter of, you know, kind of going out and looking. And actually, you know, Kirk did do that and he did win. You know, so I think he sometimes I think he runs out of time.
You have to try. Well, so for this one, I had a Canada fishing trip planned, right? The week before that, I was in Kentucky. So literally set the categories, and 2 days later, I had 2 of them bought already because I wasn't going to have time to do that. I know that there's some really good beer shops in Louisville that I saw. Like, I don't know, how do I bring that back? If it explodes in my luggage, what's going to happen? Sometimes it's about planning and time.
So like we said, Wes, Max, and Adam won. So congratulations, Wes.
Absolutely. Yep.
And those 3 guys had to get together.
Beginner's luck. What are you going to do?
That's what we're thinking. We're also going to pass a rule now.
I'm saying it's a new generation, all right?
No, we're going to pass a rule that you have to be in so many tastings before you're allowed to win.
That's right.
I think. So you got a lot to prove in the next one.
Back to probation.
Yes, there you go. But they did pick the categories for Labor Day. And this one is vanilla beer, 10% ABV or less. And food flavored or food inspired beer and wild card.
And not ingredient. It has to be completed food.
Yes,
correct.
It was my category, so that's a completed food item.
It can't be chocolate, but it can be chocolate cake.
Yes, chocolate
correct.
cake.
And that was a good way when you had said that. You know, it can't be
like coffee. No,
it has to be coffee cake
coffee
or
cake.
You know,
that. Fruit
something like that
is not a food.
Correct.
One single fruit is an ingredient. A fruit salad, maybe. If you find a fruit salad beer,
then you could bring that.
You
fruit
can
punch
that
beer.
In.
Fruit punch would be okay.
No, because that's a beverage.
That's a bunch.
Whoa, that's true. Luckily for me, I have a few food-inspired beers still in my fridge that I've never even tasted.
I've seen a couple that I didn't purchase this time, and I can go back.
So it'll be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how many people we have because typically there's a few more people. That's usually our biggest one. So we'll see.
If we had 10 this time, we might end up at 12 or something.
Yeah,
we might have to start before noon.
Jim will be here.
Right.
Brian, he'll be here. We're on to our 3rd and final Finnegan beer for today. And this one sounds interesting. Caribou Coffee Oat Milk Stout. Does it say oat milk stout brewed with Caribou coffee? That's all it says. 38 IBUs, so it's the lowest IBUs of the 3 we've had, and 6.8%. So this is the highest ABV,
right?
But it's still not.
No, 6.8 for a stout. A lot of times milk stouts aren't as strong.
So it'll be interesting because I'm not a big coffee guy. unless it's in a beer. I'll drink coffee beers, but I just don't like the flavor of coffee.
You
I don't drink coffee.
Coffee in your beer, not beer in your coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like coffee, but I really like chocolate, which is weird.
There's nothing weird about liking chocolate.
Yeah.
Nice dark head.
Definitely the darkest color, which it should be.
Actually, the coffee is not overpowering in the smell anyway.
A little bit left in the can. No, you can smell it, but it's not.
It's not overpowering. I gotta let some of that head get off of there, but
That's not bad.
no.
I don't know. I can't say that I've ever actually had Caribou coffee, so I don't know. It tastes like coffee.
I've had a lot of Caribou coffee, but yeah, it's coffee.
So
In here, it's just coffee, right?
And
I don't get coffee till the end. It's like aftertaste is more of what I have smelled when my parents make coffee.
Yeah, I don't get a whole lot of the oat milk, or the milk part of the stout.
so I'm trying to figure out the oat milk part.
I don't know what oat milk. Well, I mean,
Is it like an oatmeal milk stout supposed to be, or is it just? I don't know. It's good. I like it.
probably no lactose. I'm guessing, like almond milk or oat milk.
That could be. Does it say on here?
Because I know when you go to Caribou, you can order oat milk or almond milk or.
Oh, so it okay. That makes sense then. So it's yet another part of the Caribou partnership, so to speak.
It's pretty good. It's not as bitter as a lot of coffee ones. Caribou coffee is good coffee. I like it better than Starbucks or the rest of it. But for a coffee beer, it's pretty smooth. It's bitter, which you expect. I'm not getting them. It doesn't say anything about lactose, so I guess I shouldn't be expecting sweet. But usually with a milk stout, you get a little lactose, a little sweetness to it. But it's plenty dark.
Yep.
That's just a good stout, good coffee stout.
What do you think, Wes?
I don't see. It's kind of boring to to me. So I'd put it at a 2.8, but it's not bad. It's definitely not bad, and I will definitely I would drink one if someone gave one to me. It just like, to me, it doesn't feel like that there's much going on. I taste a little bit of coffee at the end, like I was saying before, but it's just like, it's something to drink.
If all three of them are in the cooler, you're not grabbing this one first, is what you're saying.
I am grabbing this one first over
the honey or the.
I'd have to flip a coin between those. It's definitely not last. The first one we grabbed was too hoppy for my blood, but it depends on if I'm feeling more adventurous in the side of hops.
Sure.
Then I'd go for the honey one, and then if not, I'll grab this one.
Ryan, what do you think as far as what would you give it for a score? So Wes, you said 2.8. You said
2.8.
Yeah, I would go a 3.2, right in that range. It is a good coffee stout. It's not blowing my socks off, and I'm not super impressed with it, but it's a really good, just solid coffee stout. It's not too bitter. The coffee is not overpowering. Again, the whole oat milk thing's kind of throwing me a little bit, but it's not sweet. It is a bitter coffee stout. It's good. Yep. It's not overpowering in any direction.
Yep. So I was going to go with the 3. Basically the same thing. It's very solid. I think personally the 3. I think the best one to me was the honey.
I agree.
Honestly, which is kind of surprising.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not a big coffee guy, but I do like coffee stouts. And like I said, this one is better than average. It's not offensive at all. But it's not really. It's a very good representation of a coffee stout.
Yep. And at 6.8,
you could drink a number of them.
You could drink several of them, or you can not have to worry about, you have one and I don't have to go take a nap, right? For somebody that wants to get into trying a coffee stout but doesn't want the high alcohol and work your way up, so to speak, this is a good entry-level coffee stout. Yep. No question. Great job.
I agree. Like I said, all 3 of these, I think they did very good. And sometimes when you get like those 12 packs where it's 4 different beers, you just don't know. It's like, okay, is one going to be really bad? That is how they're trying to get rid of it and package it with, But no, these were all solid. So
our last
did a good job.
Our last tasting, it was a similar deal where they had a 12 pack of stouts, 4 different stouts, and it was on clearance. And I think probably for the blueberry one that my father-in-law picked, it was a lot of blueberries and pancake in a pastry stout. But yeah, you just never know. And again, I've had Finnegans beer for years and years, and I thought, well, why not try these 3, right? I'm glad I did now. I'll go buy another 12-pack, so I have just some fun ones to drink at home.
Well, all right, guys. I guess that kind of wraps up our recap of the 4th of July beer tasting. Finnegans, you guys did a great job. Keep doing the the work in the community that you do. These beers were all great. Wes, I hope you, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, but hopefully if you come down under the weather for Labor Day, we'll be thinking about you if you can't make it.
I'll have a lot more things to worry about if I'm under the weather then.
Just send the beer. I'll bring the beer.
All right.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Wes, thanks for being here. Brian, thank you.
As always, thanks for having us.
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope, as always, that your campfires are warm and your beers stay cold. Thank you for listening to the Northwoods Beer Guy podcast. If you have a question, a comment, or a beer you'd like us to review, please feel free to send us a message at northwoodsbeerguy@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Untappd, look up Northwoods Beer Guy and send a friend request. Until next week, I hope all your campfires are warm and all your beer is cold.